Hello. Welcome to another episode of the Wisdom and the Tangents podcast. I'm excited to be back. You may have noticed, and I hope you did, that I did not have an episode go out last week. I was going to say yesterweek. That's not a thing. Actually, it might be a thing. Yesterweek. Let's bring it back. Let's start using yesterweek again. Last Monday didn't have an episode come out. I try and keep a couple like in the pocket, little emergency episodes. Usually, if y'all watch any of the live podcasts that we do, you might notice that we record like I just recorded an episode with Jennifer Lawrence a few days ago, about a week ago, and that's not going to go out until next week. So it's like a little bit ahead. But because of a few things in personal life that I won't really dive too deep into, I ran through all of those emergency episodes. So now we're back recording live. But yeah, it's on a slightly short personal note. Our house was hit with the flu and COVID because our kids went back to school, and that's what happens in the first week or two of school. And then, or not in a different order, my grandfather passed away. He was 94, which was great that he lived a very long life, but difficult with losing a loved one and all that. And lots of things going on. So for some mental health, I rescheduled a few of my podcast episodes. Actually, kind of ironically, I have one that I will be recording with Dave Moss pretty soon. He was back in episode 90 something. But we were going to be talking about hustle culture and mental health and how it's great to take a break and not just be rushing all the time. And then all of that happened and I had to reschedule his podcast. So already implementing what you were going to say, Dave. So thank you. But yeah, that's kind of what's been going on around here. No big updates for business or anything. I do have a workshop coming up in hopefully late February. Still trying to nail down a location for it, but it'll be around College Station, Houston area. So jump on the email list if you want to be first to know about that. But yeah, so today, the topic today, we're going to be looking at something that you've probably seen around. I always like to look around in our culture and in just the media and what I'm seeing online to really see how other companies, large companies too, are marketing, what they're doing, all of that. And today I'm going to be talking about the Stanley Cup. And real quick, for all the hockey fans out there, not that one. This one is water bottle. Much like this water bottle, except mine is not a Stanley Cup. Mine was $5 at the dollar store, and it is fine. But it's nothing to write home about. And I wish you would write home more about your water bottles. Your parents would really enjoy that, I'm sure. But the Stanley Cup, it's huge. You've seen it around. People are going crazy about it. Target just launched a new color, and it looked like Black Friday in 2010. It was just everyone was fighting each other just to get as many Stanley Cups as they could. And Stanley has been around for a while. If you look on the Stanley Cup, it has the logo and everything, and it says since 1913, which is 111 years ago. So for 111 years, what was Stanley doing that we didn't really know who Stanley was? And now we know who Stanley is. I'll give you a little brief history on the Stanley Empire. We'll call it that. So the company was founded in 1913, like I just said, and they had always kind of targeted more of the outdoorsy, hiking, camping, hunting, fishing kind of crowd. So all the colors were hunter green and black and gray and like stuff that's not gonna like stand out. If you're in a hunting blind and you need to take a sip, you're not gonna have like this bright pink that's going to scare away all the deer, which I would be afraid of bright pink moving around in the forest as well. But they always kind of targeted toward that. They were very big into thermoses. I had a Stanley thermos in like high school or college, somewhere in there. Those years blend together now, but I remember taking it hunting once. Didn't see anything, but I took it and I filled it up with really, really hot coffee, because up until that point I had had just nothing thermoses, like hand-me-downs, dollar store. They were fine. They like kept things warm for a while, but they would cool off eventually. And the Stanley thermos was just like, I went out there, it had already been an hour. I opened it up, it's freezing, like literally around freezing temperature. Open it up, still burning hot, burnt my mouth, and I had to just leave it open for like an hour for it to cool off. So they were known for that. They were known for really well insulated, vacuum sealed thermoses. And then they had a couple cups. The Stanley Cup Quencher, I believe, is what it's called. I just know it as the Stanley Cup. The one that's so popular now that like fits in your car cup holder and has a big handle and is gigantic. That one came out in 2016. They decided we need one for the to and fro of the camping site. So they came out with that, still the same color scheme, still the same target market. Their ideal client avatar was a huntsman, was someone who goes camping in the wilderness in a tent or just like sleeping in a tree or something. Like that was their target demographic. That was who, whenever they're thinking up their copy and whenever they were thinking up their marketing strategy, that's the person they were talking to. And we talk a lot about, in this industry, on this podcast, about your ideal client avatar and how to find them and what to do, how to speak to them. So that's who they were speaking to. They were speaking to them. What happened? Why are so many like soccer moms carrying Stanley Cups now? In 2017, there was a blog of influencers, pretty much. These three women had created this blog called the Buy Guide. And the Buy Guide was a place where you'd go and they'd kind of like write up these little articles about, hey, we tried this thing. It's amazing. You should check it out. Here's a link. And a lot of it was like affiliate type stuff. So they would make a little money on the back end. And they had written this piece about the Stanley Cup, the Quencher. And they were like, this is the best water bottle. Like I think it was like $25 at the time. And it was good. They're like, it's great, good handle, fits in the car seat or the cup holder, and you should get it. This is the only water bottle you will ever need. Go buy it. But they didn't have an affiliate link because Stanley didn't like do that kind of thing. And a bunch of people started buying it, and they just really loved it. The three ladies who ran the Buy Guide loved this Stanley Cup, and they eventually reached out to Stanley about an affiliate link. They were like, hey, we love this. We've been sharing it with all of our followers. They're like 97% women. Everyone is loving this. We know that your ideal client is not 97% women. So, could we do like an affiliate deal so we can make a little bit and we can keep sharing with other people? And they didn't really know how to do that. It was different, they're hunting, sporting type stuff. So they made a deal with them to, if the Buy Guide ladies would buy 10,000 cups at wholesale price, then they could do that, and then they would be making some money because they could sell them at the regular price. And they took a chance. They did it. They got 10,000 cups, and they sold the first 5,000 in like 4 days, and then the last 5,000 in an hour once they released the next group. So Stanley took notice of this, and they were like, this is a completely different demographic than who we've been talking to. And they decided to take a chance pivot a little bit, still doing what they're doing, still making the thermoses, still doing all those hunting, fishing people. Like that's who they're still talking to a lot. That was their main thing. But they wanted to pivot and see what this was, because they were paying attention to the market. They were paying attention to, this is different. Something's different. People are wanting this. And one of the main not concerns, but kind of like complaints from a lot of the women who were using these just like day to day to keep their iced coffees cold. They were like, black is fine, but I would really love like more feminine colors, like a pink, like some teal, like most of the Stanley Cups you see these days. And they took notice and they said, okay, we're going to run some new colors. We're going to market toward women for, this is a great iced coffee cup. This is great. It's going to keep your ice beverage, whatever, water cold for hours and hours. All day, you put ice in it in the morning, you're going to have ice at night. There was even a viral TikTok that went viral, obviously, of like some lady who crashed her car, it caught on fire, whole thing just went up in flames. But then she went back to get like assess it, whatever, in the impound lot, and she grabbed her Stanley, and there was still ice inside the Stanley, and then that just like blew up for the Stanley Cups again, where everyone was like, I'm going to get this because it can catch on fire and it's still going to have ice. I don't have to worry about it melting. And yeah, and they ended up buying her a new car and everything, which was really cool. They ended up bringing in the three women behind the buy guide into a meeting and talking about like, okay, who's your target? Who are all these people who have been buying these Stanley Cups? What are some options that y'all have? What are some things that y'all are thinking color-wise? Different features that we can fit in there. Better straws, different color tops and lids and all of that. And they worked with them and created what is now the Stanley Cup that people go crazy about. And, people are diehard Stanley Cup users now, all because this business, who was still fairly successful. I mean, they were making in 2019, before all this like really, really went viral and everyone was getting a Stanley Cup. Before that, in 2019, they made $73 million, which is nothing to shake a stick at. Also, stop shaking sticks. That's not polite. And you just shouldn't say, I can't even say shake sticks. That's a tongue twister I didn't even know of. Okay, so nothing too shabby about $73 million. But in 2023, they brought in over $750 million, which is, if you do the math, which I did, is over 10 times what they were making in 2019. In just 4 years, went 10 times, which I would love to go 10 times from what I was making 4 years ago. And, this was all because they did a few things. I'm going to put my teacher hat on real quick and be like, what can we learn from this? So what we can learn is they kept an ear to the market. They weren't like in their bubble being, this is what we've always done. This is what I like. This is what we're going to do. They listened. They were watching. They saw that this blog that they probably had never heard of is selling like 10,000 cups in a week. And they're trying to figure out like, okay, they're watching. They're not just like locked into, well, but my ICA is this Huntsman over here, so I can't do pink cups. Who's going to buy pink cups? What hunter is going to do that? They listened to the market and they weren't afraid to pivot. And that's a big thing, because a lot of times we're afraid to pivot. We listen to the market. We hear we get the emails or the DMs that are just like, hey, do you do this? Do you offer this service? Can you make this? And you get so many people asking about that. That's like, maybe you should pivot a little bit if that's something that you would enjoy. So like for me, I've mentioned this on the podcast many times, that I get asked a ton from my past clients. I'm a wedding photographer, so a lot of them are couples, and then, weddings and marriage, and the next thing comes is baby carriage, and they're like, hey, I've got this kid on the way, would you do newborn photos? And me, I don't personally like newborn photos. I'm not that great at it. I have other friends who are really great and have like a studio and do all the things. So that's not something that I want to pivot into. And that's something that, like, as if you're getting a bunch of questions about what you can do, like, assess, is this something that you really want to do before pivoting? Otherwise, for like family photos, for a while there, I was like, oh no, I'm not a family photographer. I'm only a wedding photographer. I only do weddings. I'm not going to do corporate stuff. Why would I do corporate stuff? I'm not going to do brand work. I'm not going to do headshots. I'm a wedding photographer. And then I realized that I was really leaving money on the table for stuff that I also enjoyed. I also enjoy taking photos at a conference. It's really fun. I also enjoy capturing the personalities of the kids of a family and how they interact with each other and doing like fun games and stuff. And that was money that I was leaving on the table. And it was also, I was depriving those potential clients of really great photos and a great experience that I'd be able to give them. So don't be afraid to pivot, but also don't just pivot into something because it's trendy or because a lot of people are asking you to start doing drone photography. And you're like, well, I don't have a drone and I don't have a license, but I can do it. So think about pivoting. So they watched the market, they pivoted, and also you got to create something that is worthy of having fans, because none of this would have happened if they designed a crappy cup that was just like leaking and the lids kept breaking and it would keep your drinks cool for like 2 hours, but then after that all the ice would melt. Like, they created a really great product, and once it found its way into certain hands that had influence to spread it to other people who were fans of this cup, it really blew up. So create something, create an experience, create a product. If you're a service-based provider like I am with photography, create a great customer client experience that they are just raving to other people. That I recently, Victoria, if you're listening, thank you. I worked with this model. Let's see, it was 2016. So nearly 8 years ago. In the spring of 2016, I worked with this model at a fashion event, and then kind of kept in touch over social media. But now, 8 years later, her cousin's engaged, and she was like, oh, John, he's great. I've been keeping up with him over the last 8 years. And, she was a fan of my work and was like, oh, cousin, you got to check him out. If you like his work, he's a great guy to work with. And then she did, and then they booked with me like the day that that we met. So that kind of thing is like, create a client experience that people want and would share with other people. And then also share kind of from not the Stanley point of view, but the Buy Guide ladies, from their point of view, share with your followers what you're liking, because maybe you can get some cool affiliate codes and all that, and people will start buying, and you can make a little another stream of income from the side. Or you could make a big partnership with a big brand and completely change the way that they run. I don't know what kind of back-end deal the Buy Guide has now. I would hope that that Stanley brand is just like, we wouldn't be where we are today, $750 million, without y'all. So we're going to give you a little bit, or bring them on as consultants or something. I don't really know where they are now, but there's that possibility of really bringing in some extra income by affiliates and by partnerships whenever you're sharing with your friends and your fans and your audience. But share what you enjoy and what you like, and not just have affiliate links because they're doing really well. But anyway, like earlier in this podcast, kind of segueing into my own affiliate link, is Imagine AI. I love Imagine AI. I talked to a bunch of photographers about Imagine AI because it's insane. The other day I had an entire wedding gallery. I'd already culled it and everything and sent a few photos as a sneak peek to the couple. And then I exported it, sent it over to Imagine AI with my own profile editing. What do they call it? Editing profile. That's it. And then I went and made coffee. And once I came back to the computer, I had a message saying that all of my edits were finished. And it had only been like 12 minutes, 15 minutes or something. So it is a game changer. And I love that that it's not just like figuring out how to edit. Like, you think of AI, you think of like the what is it, Dolly or Dolly 2 or something, that like AI generated images. Not that at all. It's just AI that's learning from your raw images that you sent them to what your finished editing is, and then it learns what you did to edit to where you get the end product. So whenever you send new raw images, it'll edit it in the same way that you would. And it just continues to learn the more that I send it. So with that, that was like earlier in the podcast, you heard that affiliate sponsorship. And I get a little kickback every time that one of y'all are just like, I'm going to try this out. And you do, and you subscribe. And then you're also in the same boat with me, where it's just amazing, quick, fast editing that you can get to your couples and your clients even faster. So that was not supposed to be a double ad for this podcast, but yeah, it's something that I'm passionate about, something that I'm a fan of. So because of that, I share it with you. So anyway, whether you have a Stanley Cup or not, like for me, I am not Stanley Cup demographic. Either one, the hunter or the soccer mom or the college girl with a Stanley Cup. I just need something to keep my beverages cold for like an hour, because the odds are I'm going to drink this whole thing within an hour, and that's all that I need. I'm not going long distances needing ice. And that $5 water bottle is great. And I don't think I said water bottle correctly. But anyway, thanks for listening to this episode of the podcast. Give us a follow, give us a subscribe, share it with your friends. If you're a fan of the podcast, share with your friends. I don't have an affiliate link for you, but maybe we could work something out. I don't know. But yeah, anyway, thanks so much, and I will see you next week. Bye, y'all.